A quick note before we start. A few viewers have kindly mentioned that the overhead camera has not been giving the clearest close-up of what's been happening on the bench, and you're right. It's an 8K camera, but apparently refuses to focus on anything closer than the next suburb. That's not great when you're soldering components you can lose just by sneezing. Well, I have some good news. The Minister of Finance has now approved a replacement, and I know it's going to perform much better. So for future projects, it's going to look a lot sharper. But unfortunately, the footage for the rest of this build is already in the can, and I can't reshoot it unless I desolder all the components and start again. So thank you for bearing with me. I do hope that the rest of the episodes are still perfectly followable, and that the new camera will make a big difference from the next project onwards. And with that said, let's get on with this build. Welcome back to Erie's 8-Bit Workshop. Last time we populated the Hackjunk atom clone with the resistors, capacitors, LED and timing crystals. And today things start to get serious. It's IC time, the moment where your board finally starts to look like a computer, and also where mistakes become very permanent if you're not careful. Or as I like to call it, the forest of tiny legs. Before we get started, a quick update about Erie's8bit.com, now with added shop. Yes, the website finally has a proper store and it even works. I'm still selling through eBay. If you want a cheaper option, buying direct from me from the site is the way to go. No middleman fees, just me and a plastic crate full of neatly organized PCBs pretending to be an inventory system. You'll also find all the usual bits there: parts lists, schematics, GitHub files, and links to the tools that I use on the bench. Those referral links help support the channel, so if you've wondered what soldering iron is that, now you know where to look. And if you're a maker building retro hardware, expansion, mods, replica boards, or something that really shouldn't work but somehow does, I'd love to hear from you. I'm always looking for interesting projects to feature, and I'm happy to link back to your shop so people know where to find your work. So if you want updates, resources, or a place to grab surplus PCBs before they migrate back into the workshop, head on over to Erie's8bit.com. Welcome back. Today we're installing all of the IC sockets and ICs themselves for our Hackjunk atom clone. Sockets are crucial. They let you swap chips without lifting pads, saving your sanity and preventing the board from becoming brittle, crispy fried artifact like some of the original atoms that I've seen. The Hackjunk version also modernizes a few things. RAM is now two 65-256 chips for main memory and one for video memory. And the ROM is a single 27 256 EEPROM, much simpler than the dozens of 2114s on the original design. So we'll start with the sockets. They're orientation sensitive, so note the notch. Match it to the notch on the PCB silkscreen, otherwise your chips will be sad and non-functional. The Hackjunk clone places some of the ICs with the notch up, some with the notch down, and some with the notch to the left, so pay attention. It's not normally considered best practice to have ICs the opposite way round to others on the board, but it is sometimes done to ease routing on the traces and reduce fires. It certainly was done back in the day, and the Auric 1 was such a machine even though the original Atom was not. Here's a tip for you: don't solder all the pins on the socket at once. Hold the socket in place with a blob of blue tack. Tack the two opposite corners, checking the alignment, then finishing the soldering. It's a bit like threading the needle, if the needle had 16 legs and could shock you. As I work through these sockets, you can really see the board starting to take shape. Each one is like a little parking bay waiting for its chip to arrive, and yes, there is a lot of them. The Atom may be simple by modern standards, but it still needs a small crowd of ICs to do anything useful. Soldering sockets is one of those oddly meditative jobs. You get into a rhythm: place, tack, check, solder, repeat. It's basically yoga, but with more flux fumes. And if you're wondering why we're socketing everything, trust me, future you will thank present you. Desoldering a 40-pin chip is a rite of passage nobody needs to experience twice. Some of these sockets face different directions, which feels wrong until you remember the designer was just trying to route traces without losing their minds. And if you've ever had to lay out a board, you'll forgive them instantly. And yes, the footage has suddenly gone black and white. No, the Atom has not travelled back to 1979. My camera just decided to express itself artistically. While we're in this dramatic film noir phase, I'm adding the Eurocard expansion connectors. These were optional on the original Atom, but I'm installing both the internal and external ones because, well, why not? If you're going to build an Atom, you might as well give it room to grow. Think of these connectors as the Atom escape hatches, places where future upgrades, expansions or questionable experiments can be plugged in. Next up are the jumper headers. Those little rows of pins decide how the Atom behaves. Memory maps, video options, all the fun stuff. They don't look like much, but they're the control panel for the whole machine. Soldering these is quick, but important. A slightly crooked header won't break anything, but it will annoy you every time you look at it. And we're trying to avoid future annoyance wherever possible. Now is the fun part, inserting the chips. On the Hackjunk board, the ICs face upwards, unlike the original Atom where they were upside down and sometimes fell out when you typed too hard. Gently align the pins, pressing evenly and double checking the orientation. The notch matters. If the chip is reversed, you could see regret, sparks and smoke, although possibly not in that order. After adding the ICs, this is where the board stops being a collection of parts and starts looking suspiciously like a real computer. The IC pins always arrive slightly bent outwards, like they've been doing star jumps in the packaging. A gentle squeeze brings them back to alignment, but don't overdo it. We're not trying to fold origami here. There's something very satisfying about seating each chip. A little pressure, a soft click, and suddenly the board feels alive, or at least ready to be alive. And yes, I'm double checking every orientation. A reversed chip will let you know immediately, usually with smoke, regret, and a faint smell of toasted silicon. Once the big chips go in, the 6502, the via, the VEG, the atom really starts to look the part. You can almost hear it whispering ready in classic green text. Now I'm adding the jumpers. The default positions are marked on the salt screen, so that's where I'm starting. We might change them later depending on what features we want to enable, but the defaults are a safe place to begin. These little plastic caps decide everything from RAM configuration to video behavior. They're tiny, but they wield a surprising amount of power. Before we move on to the keyboard and power on tests, let's double check. Are all the ICs seated properly? Are there any bent pins? Are all the solder joints solid? Do the jumper links look like they're in the correct positions? This saves a lot of frustration later. And finally, the speaker. Just a couple of wires to solder, but this is the part that gives the atom its voice, beeps, clicks, and occasional angry buzz, all courtesy of this little guy. It's not much, but without it, the atom feels strangely mute. So let's give it the ability to shout at us when we inevitably type something wrong. In the next episode, we'll tackle the keyboard, soldering in all the switches, adding keycaps, and creating custom labels for the non-standard keys. Once that's done, the Hackjunk Atom will be fully assembled and ready for its first power on. No burnt corners, I promise. But before we wrap up, I want to give a proper shout out to Andy over at Hackjunk. The Atom design didn't just appear overnight. It's the result of 2 years of recursive refinement, iteration, and sheer stubborn determination. What you're seeing is the product of a huge amount of care and craftsmanship, and it really shows. Andy sells the bare PCBs on his eBay store, and if you're quick, he also hand builds a complete Atom in a 3D printed case about once a month. They're absolutely gorgeous machines, and I'll include the link to his eBay store in the description, so you can check out his work and support the project. So thanks for watching episode 3 of our Hackjunk Atom build, and if you enjoyed following along, hit the like and subscribe and leave a comment. It really does help the channel and tells me I'm not just talking to myself in the retro computing vacuum. And remember, ICs have feelings. Insert them wrong way round and they'll sulk silently for eternity. And I'll see you next time on Erie's 8-Bit Workshop.